She had spent years building the image of a perfect woman, a devoted mother, a successful technical writer, a fitness coach with discipline, intelligence, and grace. And for a long time, people believed it. But on November 13, 2017, inside a courtroom in Vista, California, that image shattered in seconds. When the clerk read the words, "Guilty for conspiracy to commit murder and attempted murder," Diana Lovejoy collapsed at the defense table. Her body went limp. She fell hard enough to shake the room. Gasps filled the courtroom. Some people cried. The judge had to pause the proceedings as paramedics rushed in. It looked like a woman overwhelmed by tragedy. But many saw something else. They saw the final collapse of a carefully constructed performance. Because for years, Diana had controlled the narrative. She knew how to appear calm, sympathetic, intelligent, wounded. She knew how to make herself the victim while someone else became the villain. And the man she chose to destroy was her own husband. Her name was Diana Lovejoy, and his was Greg Mulvihill. At one time, their future seemed bright. They met online, fell in love, married, and after several heartbreaking miscarriages, welcomed a son together. To neighbors and friends, they appeared to be a successful California family building a stable life. But behind that polished image, the marriage was slowly falling apart. By 2014, the relationship had reached a breaking point. Instead of limiting the conflict to divorce proceedings, Diana made a series of serious accusations. She claimed Greg had given her substances without her knowledge and taken advantage of her while she slept. Later, she made another disturbing claim, saying he had also harmed their young son. Those allegations changed everything, almost immediately. Greg was forced out of the home, and his time with his child became restricted. Suspicion followed him everywhere. To many people, he was judged before any facts were confirmed. But as investigators examined the case more closely, the narrative began to unravel. Child Protective Services investigated, medical professionals evaluated the claims, psychological experts reviewed the family situation. The result was devastating to Diana's credibility. No evidence supported her accusations, not one. Instead, several professionals described Greg as a caring and stable father. Some even recommended that he should become the primary parent. That was a turning point. Because Diana had used one of the most powerful fears in society, the abuse of a child, as a weapon. She used it to isolate Greg, to poison his reputation, to gain leverage in court. And when that stopped working, she looked for something stronger. That is when Weldon McDavid entered the picture. McDavid was not some street criminal. He was a former Marine with over a decade of service, a firearms instructor at Iron Sights shooting range, disciplined, skilled, proud of his identity as a protector. And that made him the perfect target. Diana did not need a professional assassin. She needed someone who believed he was saving a helpless woman. She told Weldon stories of abuse, threats, fear. She painted Greg as dangerous and herself as trapped. Weldon believed her. Soon, they became emotionally involved, even romantically connected, despite the fact that Weldon had a family of his own. He installed a security system at Diana's house. He positioned himself as her guardian. But in reality, he was being groomed for something else, because this plan had not appeared suddenly. At trial, Diana's own aunt testified that during Christmas of 2015, nearly a year before the shooting, Diana had asked if she knew anyone who could take care of Greg. That statement changed everything. This was not panic. This was planning. 2 weeks before the ambush, surveillance cameras captured Diana purchasing a prepaid burner phone at Best Buy. The phone would later be used to lure Greg into a trap. And the chosen night was September 1st, 2016, a new moon, the darkest night of the month. Just before 11 p.m., Greg received a phone call. The caller claimed to be a private investigator with damaging evidence about Diana that could help him in the divorce case. He was told to meet at a remote dirt trail in Carlsbad. Greg was suspicious, so he brought a friend with him. That decision may have saved his life. When they arrived, nothing seemed normal. Then Greg's flashlight swept across the bushes. He saw a man lying in camouflage with a rifle aimed directly at them. Gunfire erupted. A bullet tore through Greg's left armpit and exited through his back. He ran. By miracle alone, the bullet missed his heart by roughly 1 inch. Later, Weldon McDavid took the stand and offered a defense so unbelievable it stunned the courtroom. He claimed he never meant to kill Greg. He said he only intended to shoot Greg's flashlight. But prosecutors destroyed that argument. McDavid was an expert marksman, a trained Marine instructor, and the bullet had entered one of the most vulnerable areas of Greg's body. This was not a warning shot. It was an attempted execution that failed. Then came the evidence no one expected. Near the sniper's hiding spot, police found an Angry Birds towel covered in human feces. DNA testing identified it as Weldon McDavid's. That bizarre detail humiliated the image of the disciplined tactical professional. Under pressure, fear, or panic, he had left biological evidence at the crime scene. The perfect ambush was no longer perfect. And then investigators uncovered the motive. Diana had been ordered to pay Greg $120,000 as part of the divorce settlement. The deadline was only weeks away. The court had also ordered shared 50-50 custody. Worse for Diana, she was required to pay child support to Greg. She was losing money, she was losing control. And rather than pay her ex-husband what the court required, prosecutors said she chose a cheaper solution. She paid Weldon $2,000. $2,000 to erase a father, to erase a debt, to erase accountability. But Greg survived, and because he survived, the lies did not. At sentencing, Diana received 26 years to life in prison. Weldon McDavid, the man who pulled the trigger, received 50 years to life. Greg recovered and later gained full custody of their son. In the end, this case was never about love. It was never about protecting a child. It was about manipulation, about ego, about what happens when someone believes control matters more than truth. Diana Lovejoy spent years creating a flawless mask, but masks only work until reality pulls them off. And when hers finally fell, it happened in front of everyone. If you're drawn to real crime stories, shocking courtroom moments, and the psychology behind cases that seem impossible to understand, make sure to subscribe to FemCrime Files. We bring you powerful, true cases, detailed investigations, and stories that stay with you long after they end. Join our growing community, turn on notifications, and never miss the next case. Subscribe now to FemCrime Files, where every story reveals a darker truth.